Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to patch 7.15 rundown here by Benvarmeren. So, this patch came out last night, so I didn't get to check it out yet, because I had to get up fairly early. Like, I woke up around 8, because I had to say goodbye to my mom, who's going on a trip today. Won't see her for like 4 days anyways. But anyways, let's jump into it. So patch 7.15, I did get a chance to take a look at the different champions. Like I didn't read anything, I just saw the huge amount of champions and the free items. But anyways, so patch 7.15 is going to be looking at hitting a lot of different champions. 7.14 introduced a lot of lethality changes, which then provoked, I guess you can call it, a tank meta, more teamfight oriented meta in League of Legends, because when assassins are good, you want to get like tanks, because they can soak up all the damage that the assassins can deal with the lethality, and a way that you also neutralize assassins is by team fighting. So that's what we saw come out here after patch 7.14, but now 7.15 attacking a lot of champions, and let's get into it. So the new Urgot will be Urgot. I don't know quite how to say it. People, they say it differently. I guess you call him Urgot. The new Urgot will be released during this patch. But for Akali, if we jump into the first assassin and champion, Akali, passive AP ratio up, W cooldown reduced. So I like how Akali is a pick you can come out with from time to time. Like we've seen Kikis play it. We haven't seen Sword played. I remember Kikis. There's probably others as well, but I remember that Kikis has played this champion a little bit from time to time. And while I wouldn't say it's a bad champion, it's definitely not the strongest champion in the game. So I can understand why you want to buff it a little bit, because she's very hit or miss. Either you pop off or either you fall flat on your nose, and that's not exactly what you want in a champion, especially when you consider that League of Legends overall is very competitive minded. Like a lot of these champions being buffed are because of the competitive scene. So obviously you want to have the champions in a state where they'll be able to actually carry without having to be a high risk, low reward champion, so to say. So I can understand why some of these changes come out. Yeah, there's not a lot that I can really add to Akali. I feel like I want to see a little bit more about where I want to see more of her before I can really say that yes, she's either broken or good, because she's definitely not flavor of the month in the top lane. That's the likes of a Maokai, Cho'Gath, other tanky top laners. I mean, even Nautilus could come back. For now, it's only Maokai and Cho'Gath because of their incredible tankiness up there. I mean, so I want to see a little bit more of Akali before I really can talk more about her. But as here, so one thing that we've also seen coming out from the mid lane is now that with the tanks being favored a little bit more, team fighters from the mid lane has also been rising a little bit in terms of what people really want, like in terms of the champions that they want to pick up, and that's the likes of a Corki, a Galio in the mid lane. LeBlanc is still up there, but overall, just whatever really fits into your composition as of now is the thing that you want to pick in the mid lane, and that is usually something with mobility, something with mobility, tankiness, or the ability to team fight very hard. And that means that there are a few certain picks that you want to go for. And now, if you like continue on this meta, which we'll probably do until, I don't see them making huge changes, so I can understand that I would assume that we'll probably get this meta until like Worlds. Then I can understand why they want to hit a little bit more on this tier, because he is supposed to be like a late game carry. He's not supposed to be an early to mid game. So I can understand why they like want to buff his late game a little bit, because of him not seeing that much play. And with that being said, well, that's what they're doing. They're buffing his late game soldier damage, making him more attractive. He's only going to be scaling better, and that's about it. And that's really nice, because again, he hasn't seen a lot of play. It's not really in the current meta, so making it so that he can actually deal more damage in the later stages of the game means that he'll actually be able to contribute anything in the meta. I won't say that he'll probably come in there, because I don't feel like this is the biggest of changes. But it's definitely a step in the right direction to perhaps put him back in terms of being perhaps a pocket pick for someone. Cho'Gath, E-based damage and health damage decreased. Now that's understandable. A lot of people, they or if I remember correctly, like, you didn't max the E on the top laners. I'm pretty sure you didn't max the E on junglers as well, but like, it's still a very strong ability. If you saw the last patch rundown, I was talking with Ibris about how I really like the idea of having Cho'Gath's his rupture changed, because it now costs less mana, but if you pair it up with the Vorpal spikes, you still have to pay 90 mana to like be able to use both the Vorpal spikes and the rupture, which means that you'll get the double amount of wave clear in the jungle out from your abilities. So with that in mind, this ability is super strong. Like, having maximum health is still fine, because I feel like it is overall a melee ability. So obviously, being able to damage people in that sense, because the overall damage is very low, but having the target's maximum health means that you can actually use this ability. It's useful. And as I said, because of its melee, having it means that if you are able to actually land the right auto attacks, well, then you can actually punish people. And I really like that idea. I really like that idea. But I can understand why 4 might be a bit. I think that 3 is the correct number. I feel like 2 might be a little bit too low, because yes, it would give him the damage in the later stages of the game, but 2% of target's maximum health really isn't a lot. It's like if you have a person with 100 health, it's like 2 damage, right? Yeah, it's like 2 damage. It's not a lot. Like, so you can add that up, and I feel like 3 is the perfect number to go from. Dr. Mundo. E now increases magic resistance as Dr. Mundo takes magic damage. Inspired by the tank meta. Buffing the tanks means that we might... Oh, wait, what is that? Oh, yeah, okay, never mind. So, we're in a tank meta, and they're buffing tanks, which basically means that, yeah, they want to have Mundo perhaps be a part of the current meta. There's not a lot to it. I like the idea, how it like stack up. I don't feel like it'll put him that well into the meta, because you need crowd control. Basically, the meta is about if anyone saw Draco's list, it's about drafting more engaged than your enemies, and then engage before enemies and then shut them down. So basically, Mundo without any CC won't be able to really do an impact in this game. Echo, E cooldown reduced to levels. I feel like this is just a feel good change. Like, I see why giving him a little bit more tool to engage is good, but just reducing it by 0.5 seconds is more like a clarity change than a needed change. But nonetheless, a good change for Echo. But he's a pocket pick, so it's not something that you will probably see come out unless it really fits good in a team composition. Depends on the player, of course. Elise, base attack damage decreased. Yeah, I don't want to talk too much about Elise because I still love Elise. I feel like she can still in solo queue or in, let's say, like a lower league amount, like something like Compete League perhaps, she can still have such a huge impact, but she's more high risk media reward at this point because she's not a tank, and it's so hard to play carry junglers in a tank meta because, well, you won't really be able to tear through the tanks, especially when you gank a tank where you have a tank laning, and therefore it's so much easier to play, let's say, Gragas or Rek'Sai instead of the Elise. So she's not really useful anymore in the current meta, and therefore I feel like, yeah, nerfing her is needed because of her being so dominant in the past few metas. But they have to be careful because you don't want to nerf her to the ground, especially since she isn't strong anymore. Ezreal Q cooldown reduced at early ranks. Feel good changes. Again, just a little bit of clarity. Not that I feel like it was necessarily needed, but definitely something that'll give him a little bit more health. Help in the laning phase, which is fine. Like, he's definitely not a bad AD carry, but he's just not good enough in the laning phase to be a competitive AD carry anymore. With the Q, you'll be able to do a little bit more. Most likely, just you'll probably use it to farm, and that's about it. That's probably about it. Gangplank, passive damage up. 15, yeah, sure. Gragas base attack speed decreased, R cooldown increased at early ranks. So with Elise slowly falling off, we've seen Gragas come back into the meta, and now I like the way that they're going with this because his explosive cask obviously is a huge displacement ability, which gives him a lot of strength to play around with. And obviously his base attack speed, while it isn't big, it's certainly something that will target his jungle clear speed a little bit. I don't feel like his jungle clear speed is the problem. I feel like his problem is that he's so good at ganking and still be a big tank, and even if he falls behind, he'll still have the displacement, he'll still have the body slam and the flash body slam combo even to make plays. So I don't feel like his clear speed is the problem. But for now, I like how they're taking it a step at a time, because obviously hitting one thing at a time means that you don't over nerf someone to the ground. And I feel like this is needed. It's definitely needed. You need to give space for the junglers to come in and try and have an impact as well. There's a lot of small changes here in this patch. With Aurelia now having her old cooldown reduced to early ranks. Aurelia, I like how we know that we're in the tank meta, right? So having Aurelia being a little bit stronger overall means that now she can actually come in and try to shut down junglers. Sorry, not junglers, top laners, tanks in the top lane. Because of her being so incredibly strong in the early to mid game, she can go 1v1 against most tanks. Probably not the likes of a Cho'Gath, but well, Cho'Gath also, okay, she can go up against Cho'Gath in the early game, but she won't be able to do anything against Cho'Gath once he gets a few stacks of feast, most likely, and if he, and that means he'll be too tanky, and then he'll just have to group up with his team. But in a 1v1 scenario, Aurelia will be able to win against most tanks, and therefore having extra the old cooldown reduced means that she will be able to perhaps have a little bit more of an impact in this game. But obviously it's very dependent on your team, because she is, if you pick her here, she is very high risk and also high reward, because you can shut down a crucial member of your enemy team. But with the likes of the Rek'Sai and the Gragas being favored in the jungle meta, it'll be hard for like Aurelia to go up there, because Gragas and Rek'Sai, they bring CC, and if you lane against the Cho'Gath or Maokai, all you need to do is land your initial CC, then you can follow up, and then you're dead. So it'll be hard. W cooldown reduced. Yep. So yeah, long range poke and mid combat slows, as they say. Not a huge change, not something that was needed, but it's fine. Kayn ultimate bonus AD ratio increase, does but now appropriately interacts with Kayn's abilities. Okay, so buffing the Shadow Assassin a little bit, needed to do so because the Shadow Assassin being so incredibly bad, the Shadow Assassin Kayn is basically a worse version of Zed, so they need to buff him up, make him more unique, because why wouldn't you go for the Dark King that has I think it's max health damage, knockups, slows, heals, like that is just way better than the Assassin. The Sandra mana per level and base attack damage increased. Okay, so the Sandra is falling out of favor for a long time, and I like how they're buffing her a little bit. Base attack damage isn't the thing that you have to look out for here. It's more like the mana. She can be very mana hungry, and when you want to get engaged, having the possibility to pick someone like Lissandra out from the mid lane could make for more engage. And while this is not going to be pushing her over the edge, I feel like, to the meta line, it's a step in the right direction. 2 seconds. Q cooldown reduced locks at earlier levels. If W hits an ally when going out, the incoming shield is double for all allies and locks herself. Small buff again. I like the idea about the prismatic barrier, sorry. It does make a little bit more sense that you get extra amount of shield when it comes back instead of just refreshing the shield. That makes more sense. Aqua Prison, more playmaking, yes. Now sustain now shreds percent armor instead of flat value. Q cooldown is halved during R. Okay, so that's interesting. Like now, Nasus, I never really thought about this, but having the flat armor reduction isn't that huge, because when you're against tanks, 35 flat armor is nothing. It's if you're going up against someone and they'll probably have over 200 armor, that's nothing at all. So I like how it's now percentage, which is going to be so much stronger in the late game, so much weaker in the early game. But Nasus is not about the early to mid game. He's about stacking up and becoming that huge problem in the later stage of the game. So I really like this idea. And then making him even stronger when ulted is also really nice. Siphoning Strike cooldown reduced by 50%. Nice idea. Oh, I really waited for these changes. I love Nautilus in the top side. So, Q early damage up. You all cooldown reduce to ranks 1 and 2. Yes, please. More diversity to the top side. Nautilus. Like, it's bringing me back to the time where we had the Maokai and the Nautilus in the top side every game. And sometimes Trundle and Poppy. Now, this is definitely going to give him a bit more power in the early game, make him a viable tank to alongside the Maokai and the Cho'Gath, sorry, and even Galio. So I really like these changes, especially because of them reducing the cooldown on his ult early on, so that he can make more plays. Shyvana E now scales with total AD, base armor increased. Well, yes, not going to make any difference at all. Since Q particles more clear, especially for colorblind players, are now granted stats faster. Okay. That's weird. Why would you have delay? Yep. Clarity and feel good changes. Sivir has seen a lot of popularity as well. She's risen in popularity because of her ability to bring tanks into the fray. Like with her on the hunt, she gives movement speed. So, like, I'm pretty sure they nerfed her earlier on this year. So giving her some of her strength back is fine. But this is a huge change, like 25 to 55, 45 to 75, 65 to 95, 85 to 115, and then 105 to 135. That's a huge rise in numbers. And it's definitely going to give her more laning power. And I feel like Sivir will most likely be a more contested pick, especially because of On the Hunt, like, especially because of On the Hunt. Yeah. Okay. Movement speed is not what you're going to give. It's not the way that you're going to bring Twisted Fate back. But I would love to see him come back. Seraph, W slow increased, or base damage at later levels increased. Yeah, a little bit more damage. Not going to be something that'll bring him back to the meta, but it's fine, I guess. Q cost and cooldown increased, W base damage decreased. So the Siphoning Strikes, sorry, Stretching Strikes, not Siphoning Strikes, that is Nasus. So Stretching Strikes was always a fairly strong ability. It gave a lot of weight, so a jungle clear, because of the damage being able to come out twice. I like how they make it more risky to use it, and now you also have to think about when you use it because of the cooldown being increased. It's not a lot, like it's only a second. It's a second higher cooldown, so it's not a big change, but I mean, it's still a little change. 1 second can be the matter of a gang rush or a kill. So having that one change, so 1 second, can be a huge difference. 6 W cooldown reduced. More defensive power, more offensive power as well. Is fine. Don't see him fit into the current meta though. Items. Adaptive helm reduction increased. Damage taken from repeated instances of spell or effects is reduced by 20. The item is still trash. Like, it's not good unless you're going up against a Cassiopeia or even a Rumble. I don't know, stuff that'll have a repeated spell stuff that'll throw a repeated spell at you. It's fairly good against that, but against everything else, it's super trash. But giving it 5 more damage reduction is a way of trying to make it more attractive, so I can see where they're coming from. And well, it might shoot up a little bit in popularity, but still, it's not going to be something you'll get every time. It's not going to be a mandatory item, but still, it's going to be a stronger item in some scenarios. Let's put it that way. Dustblade effects are Night Stalker proc damage down, range proc no longer slows. Okay. So, Dustblade effects was super strong. So now I like how they're nerfing it a little bit more to make it a bit stronger in the early game, less strong in the late game. Because obviously it's meant to snowball, so I like the idea that they're addressing that. But the heavy users were Jhin and Kha'Zix. And Kha'Zix were a better user of it because of the passive that gave him that extra amount of burst when he went out of vision. So perhaps you should hit on that instead of the damage. But the damage is definitely a step in the right direction. But Kha'Zix can still see a lot of play in solo queue because of the internal cooldown on the passive not being there yet. Night's Vow health decreased. It's very effective. It's super strong. It's a super strong item. You get it on either your top laner tank, your top lane tank, or your bottom laner support. So I like the idea of nerfing it a bit because it's so effective, and it shouldn't be that effective. So yeah. Okay, but yeah. Definitely a smart idea from right there to try and hit on that. And looks like we're done. Thank you all for watching this patch rundown of patch 7.15. I hope you all enjoyed, and I'll hopefully catch you again. Do remember to leave a like, subscribe, and find me over on Twitter and Facebook if you want to hear more about me. So I hope you all have a good one, and I'll catch you later.